So a lot of the uniqueness of the trade shows is just the deadlines. Everything's time critical. If you're not buttoned up with the check-in times, the move-in schedule, that can just cause a snowball effect throughout the entire process for the customer when they're on site at the actual show. Oftentimes, the general contractor or the decorator of the show is going to have a one-page form called a quick fax form that I always reach out and obtain that, and it gives me the entire layout of when do we need to move in? When does our truck and driver need to be there? Is there a staging point known as the marshaling yard that we need to go to first? Or are we going directly to the dock at the convention center? Is there an advanced warehouse? Can we get there early? There's a cadence to how everything happens from the very first day of moving to clicking the lights on and the power right before the show starts. Even some of these shows, there's heavy machinery that has to be calibrated. So everything has to be down to a T, almost rehearsed and ready to go when that trade show starts. And again, from the very first part of that, our driver showing up on time, checking in at the right place, getting a dock door when he's assigned to is what makes all of that fall in line. Some of these companies, that trade show could make or break their quarter if they sell X machine at that show. This can be their entire marketing budget for the quarter, for the year, whatever it may be. And there's nothing worse than a customer going to their booth and nothing being in there and the show is live. I've been to a trade show personally where you're walking around and seeing all these extravagant exhibits, and then you walk up to a booth and there's nothing in it, and people are almost laughing at you. Usually in the logistics world, you think early is good, but in a trade show, it's not. Everything has to be time critical. Showing up early to your move-in date at a trade show is going to be additional fees. Showing up late, obviously, is not just additional fees, but then you run the risk of your booth not being set up on time. Every little aspect of a trade show is an additional cost. There's what's called material handling fees, which is just literally the convention center employees unloading the truck and getting your freight to your booth. If that's on a normal day of the week, it's a certain flat fee. If it's done on the weekend, it's an overtime fee. If it's done on a holiday, it's a double time fee. Knowing your move-in dates and times, your move-out dates and times, and the different costs associated with utilizing those days and times can give you a better budgetary idea of what the spend is going to be if you move in on X day versus whatever other day. The companies that do it more often, obviously, they're going to have kind of more of an idea of what their deadlines are when they need to get from show to show. The ones that maybe are once a year, we like to have the opportunity to go to what's called the advanced warehouse. The benefits of that is you're not having to meet that super fine crunch time deadline of getting there at 8 a.m. on a certain day to move into the convention center. You send it to a warehouse locally, the general contractor will then move your freight over to the convention center to make sure your freight is in your booth on the day that you're supposed to move in and your labor is scheduled. That advanced warehouse does not receive up until the day before the show starts. The cutoff is usually a couple weeks before. So when we have our customers that don't ship quite as often, we try to encourage them to be a little more buttoned up on their timelines so that we can offer the advantage of going to the advanced warehouse. It cuts off a lot of wait time at show site as well. One of the things I try to inform and educate our customers on if they're new to the trade show industry, get familiar with the exhibitor service manual. And that's a pamphlet or it's almost a book that the general contractor is going to send you. And it shows you all of your services that are available to order. It shows you all of your deadlines, gives you all the important info that you need, and it gives you all your pricing as well. It tells you what are normal time hours, what are overtime hours, what are double time hours for all the labor that you need to order. It tells you the things that come with your booth. It tells you the things that you need to order if they're additional. It gives you your labels that you can fill out so that you can tag your freight whenever it's ready for us to pick up. And it gives you that important material handling agreement, which again releases the freight to us when we come to pick up, or your logistics provider. There's also an exhibitor service desk that's inside of every convention center that every exhibitor can go and visit. And there's a representative there from the general contractor that can help them with any services that they need. There's also the paperwork at the end of the show that can be pretty cumbersome if you're not familiar with how to fill it out. But that paperwork is essentially a legal binding contract for them to release your freight to us. There's people on site sometimes that are not familiar with filling out that paperwork, and we always raise our hand to say, we can give you a sample form, call us if you need help filling out the paperwork, because there's nothing worse than having a successful show, and then when it's time for us to pick up your freight, it gets forced off the show floor to another carrier that's then going to charge you probably 4, 5, 6 times as much. And if you have to go from trade show to trade show, that then messes up your entire timeline. And you could have said, I'm going to go to an advanced warehouse to the next show. Now you're having delivered direct to show site. It could be dedicated trucks instead of an LTL transit. There's a lot of costs that can be associated with the correct paperwork not being filled out at the end of the trade show. We have experts on our side that are more than willing to help with that. We offer GPS tracking with our stuff that's moving on dedicated trucks. Always provide driver phone numbers so that we can contact drivers when they are for sure checked in at show site. I would imagine that there's probably customers that do put air tags in their crates as well, right? So I think any of those precautions and any of those lifelines that you'd like to use to ensure that the freight is tracking on time and getting to the next show, I think is always a great idea. The address may sound obvious, but for larger trade shows with a ton of exhibitors and a lot of trucks showing up, there's always going to be a staging point, which is called the marshaling yard. So we want to ensure that our driver has the info that says you're checking in here first, which is offsite, then they will call you up to the convention center. So that original check-in address is what's most important, because if you go to the convention center first, they're going to turn you away. And every minute that you're not going to the marshaling yard first, that's other drivers that are checking in before you. Think about a release for a video game you want to go get for your kid or something. You show up at 5 a.m. when the store opens, you're going to get that first copy. You wait till 5 o'clock in the evening and there's a mile-long line. Getting there early and first to check in can cut out a lot of that waiting time because you're first in line. But being on the general contractor side, I dealt with all the logistics companies. I've seen both sides of it, and that kind of helps on my side when trying to help prepare the customer of these are the must-dos, the things you must have, the deadlines we must hit, and the information that I need in order to ensure that we have a successful delivery or pickup from the show.